Olá, Tiago Faria, tiagofaria.pt. Bem-vindo ao episódio número 13 do podcast do Tiago. Eu hoje tenho comigo um convidado também muito especial, que eu já tenho seguido há alguns meses, que chama-se Alexander Ford. Ele é um estratega de negócios e marketer que ajuda proprietários de negócios a escalarem-se para fora das suas próprias empresas. O que eu acho que é genial esta frase, o que significa que você poderá, basicamente, sair do seu trabalho do dia-a-dia para se concentrar na sua visão de longo termo e na estratégia para crescer o seu negócio. Hi, Alexander. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. I'm super glad to have you here. And you accepted it so quickly. I'm really happy that you made it happen. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, no worries. I love the process. I love doing this type of thing. So
awesome. Really, I knew you had this mindset, so I went for it. So for those who don't know you that well, I'm sure my Portuguese audience still don't have the knowledge about you as they should. Could you quickly tell us who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name is Alexander Ford. I hail from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. So I was born and raised here, run my business here. I run a digital agency. So we provide marketing services, web design services, Facebook ad services, everything that a business owner would need to build a marketing machine and acquire attention online. And I do that with my team of 8. We're growing through now $1 million in revenue and beyond. And I've spent my whole life doing this. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 12 years old. And I've made it my mission to find real problems to solve in the market. And I've just been incrementally over time discovering which problems business owners are facing that are most impactful to them and doing everything in my power to solve them. So it's been sort of a journey that has landed me in the land of marketing and behavior and online communication and content production and Facebook ads and funnels and all that good stuff. But really what I want to do is I want to help business owners and entrepreneurs build sustainable businesses that they can use to deliver a service that they love to the market and do so while making money and being paid handsomely in exchange for those services. That's what I want to help people do.
Yeah, very true. And taking a big step back, when did you first realize you wanted to make a living out of helping businesses grow and business owners?
I think it was pretty early on. I had the opportunity to have a father who was entrepreneurial. He was the associate pharmacist at a store in Calgary here called Shoppers Drug Mart, which is a pharmacy and retail store. And so from a very young age, I was in a family that was entrepreneurial in that way. So I, would go to work with my dad and I would help out. I remember I was 5 and 6 years old. I was punching a time card. I was being Santa's little helper at Christmas time. I was stocking shelves. I wanted to be a part of what was going on. I wanted to be a part of his business. And so that was probably when I decided, it's important to me to be of service. I wanted to help my dad. He was a business owner. And I don't know that I ever thought about it. It wasn't like I woke up one day and I'm like, I'm sick of the man. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. It was just always part of my blood to, be helpful.
Were you that kid that went to shovel snow out of people's yards?
100%. Raking leaves and mowing lawns and all that shit. I remember designing my first business card in Microsoft Paint and printing it out on 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper and cutting it up and walking around the neighborhood and handing it out with my 2 friends. So it's just been a thing that I've always done. It's just been part of my vernacular. Obviously, it has become more complex and sophisticated as I've grown. And I did have jobs. I worked because I wanted to make money. As I was figuring out my life, and not very many business owners want to hire a 12-year-old kid, right? So, I had jobs. I never really resented jobs. I'm not the traditional entrepreneur who will tell a story that says I worked for other people and then decided I was unemployable. In fact, I think that's ridiculous. It's just been my nature. I'm helpful. I love.
You actually learned something by working for others, right? You identified flaws.
100%. 100%. So really early on would be the direct answer. And it's just been a part of my DNA. I love to help people. And the fastest path to helping people is to go right to the root of the problem.
Absolutely. I really love how I was exploring your LinkedIn profile. And I advise my audience to please take a look at his profile because you describe so thoroughly every single job experience you had. from your very youth, from like being Santa's little helper, and you put all the insights, like what I learned, what I found, it's absolutely brilliant. And out of all those initial experiences, which brought you the biggest aha moment as a business strategist?
The biggest aha moment. That's a good question. God,
what so many. I've seen like hundreds of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I look for this in my life, right? Like I'm on my own journey and I look for these moments because in many ways I feel that it would give me a sense of security to be like, oh, thank God I can latch on to this one thing that, you know, made my life change. It's like, here's the moment my identity was crystallized. And I think the reality is that there has not really ever been a big moment. There have been moments. There's been moments of transformation. There's been, you know, moments where we've lost a key client and we've had to pivot in order to resolve a short-term challenge. And that pivot ended up being, you know, helpful in revealing insights we'd been ignoring before. But in terms of like any one significant thing, I don't know. It's been a mission of mine to simply just accumulate an awareness of how business systems work together. And so each business has sort of informed different parts of that journey for me. I worked at a golf course, for example, and that's a lesson in customer service, right? I worked at a Cineplex Odeon for all of 3 days, which is a movie theater. And I quit because I found their authoritarian regimen, which was designed for, you know, employees who don't really think for themselves, to be very challenging for someone who does think for himself. I found it to be overbearing. So I learned the difference between authority and management in that regard. In working for, let's say, Dairy Queen, I understand how important it is to, like, so here's a quick story. I worked at Dairy Queen, and Dairy Queen is an ice cream franchise. I don't know if you have them down there.
No.
So it's like ice cream. It's like just like an ice cream shop, and they're franchised. So every Dairy Queen has a different franchise owner. And in this particular Dairy Queen, they would leave the supervisor keys in the registers, but they would hold employees accountable to till shortages, meaning they would like collect, you know, shortages at the end of the day. If I was short on my till, they would take it from my paycheck.
Yes.
And it got to a point where I was like, this is not reasonable. I'm not doing my math wrong. I'm good at handling money. I know how to count. I'm good at math. Like, this money that's disappearing from my till is not me. And other people have access to this till because the key is in the till. And so I wrote a letter one day while I was at work, and the manager or the franchise owner was not there on the work computer. I printed the letter and I took it home, and I was going to bring it back the next day. But the next day I got a call saying I'd been removed from the schedule because what I found had happened is he turned on the computer in the morning and a second copy of my letter printed out on the printer. So he figured out that I was going to quit anyway. And so he fired me.
Yeah.
And that was a lesson for me, because what I realized was I had just been fired for a violation in Alberta labor law, and they can't do that. So my father and I went through the process of reporting them to Alberta labor standards and like making a claim and stuff like that. And so I learned a lesson in how important it is to follow Alberta labor law and to not give employees unnecessary reasons to, you know, cause problems for your business. So there's like a lot of different things that go into running a business. And I think all of those lessons are necessary. You know, like I've been doing bookkeeping with my mom since the very beginning. I still do bookkeeping with her. She comes in every third Tuesday, and her and I do the bookkeeping together. I run a 7-figure business, and I'm doing the bookkeeping, and we balance the bank accounts to the penny, and we reconcile the credit cards to the penny, and we close month end 10 or 15 days into the next month. Like, my books are current. If you go talk to a random business owner, the probability of them having current bookkeeping is zero.
Very low.
It just doesn't happen. But that's a lesson that I learned because I had the opportunity to be working with my mom. So it's like all of these things together, I think, make me what I am. There wasn't necessarily any one particular thing that really formed my identity. But here's the thing, all the lessons are important, right?
Exactly. They shaped the way you are nowadays. And all those experiences led you to create Measurable Genius, it's the agency, right, that you run. Can you tell me a bit about that initial experience and how you acquired your first clients?
Well, measurable genius is like an evolution in name only.
Okay.
Like through my journey as an entrepreneur, obviously I've gained and lost clients, but I haven't had like one business with one set of clients and gotten rid of it and then moved to a different set of clients. My accumulation of clients over time has been an evolution like the rest of my journey.
So you were like a freelancer initially, and then you evolved to an agency, and then agency changed name. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, and I have like, it's grown and shrunk, right? So I grew when I first started, I was 12. You can't create a corporation when you're a 12-year-old in Canada. No. So I was what they call a sole proprietorship. And back then I was basically just like trying to convince people to pay me to do website design services.
At 12?
And
wow.
Yeah. And then I was like selling remanufactured toner cartridges, and I was selling boxes of paper, and I was driving around in my van delivering boxes of paper, just basically, and how I found these customers. I mean, I worked at a pizza restaurant for 5 years. And I would be talking to, the people. I was a waiter. Like, I'm a personable. I actually really love waiting tables. I love customer service. I love interacting. So I would just chat with people, and I would ask them questions, and I would find out. And I would, lots of business owners eat at restaurants.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I collected probably 10 or 15 customers out of the restaurant that I was working at just by creating conversations and, telling them what I did. And they're like, well, I have a computer. My computer's fucked up. Like, it's broken. I get viruses. I was going to go to Best Buy. Can I buy a computer from you? And I would just, I would build them computers. I would go buy the parts, and I would build the computers, and I would sell them computers. And then they would just, when their computers break, they would call me to fix them. And so it just evolved. I mean, when what you do and your compulsion to serve is part of who you are, like, it's impossible not to identify and attract customers, because if there's a real problem, if people have the problem that you solve and you're in the market talking to people about it, people will inevitably express interest, right? Which is what's interesting about marketing, because so many people think marketing is a black box, and they're like, I just don't know how to get customers. And I'm like, have you tried going out into the world and talking to people?
Yeah.
Like, have you thought about going to networking events and like sharing who you are? Have you thought about, bringing it up in the conversations that you have with the people you sit next to on the plane? Have you thought about asking the person at the Starbucks counter how their day is going? Like, all you need to do is have conversations and build relationships. And then, eventually shit happens.
Yeah.
And so that's how it's been for me. And more importantly, the thing that makes it most easy for me to acquire customers is having a clearly packaged product that I can identify. Like, when someone says, I've got a problem and I know I can solve that problem, and my product is packaged in a way that I can present a solution and they can give me a credit card, now we have a business. So there's steps there, right? And I think that what's most important is not necessarily like people knowing that you're helpful or people knowing that you can help them. It's, okay, so they know that you can help them. How do they book a call with you? If you want to book a call, like, for example, to get me on your podcast, you sent me a link. You're like, listen, I'd like to have you on my podcast. Click here to go to my scheduler. We'll pick a time to do the podcast, right? There's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people who are trying to start a podcast that, for me to actually get on their podcast, I need to go back and forth in my email inbox with them, and they need to give me a date. And then a week and a half later, we still don't have a time booked. There's friction there. So, can I get a call with you? And if I do get a call with you, what are we going to talk about? Do you have a sales call process? Do you have a structure to, establish rapport and ask high quality questions and get the information you need to know if you can solve their problem or not? Because I don't need to sell you. I just need to demonstrate I understand your problem just as good or better than you do. And the minute you perceive that in me, you're going to believe that I have the solution. And so once I've got that figured out, what is the offer? What am I going to offer to you? So I've got you on the call. What am I going to offer? And is the offer compelling and easy to buy? And if it's easy to buy, can I take your credit card? And if I can take your credit card, now we're in business. And if you figure those 4 things out, then now you've got a machine that you can run. But most people are thinking like, I just want to take people's money. But every time they have a conversation, the conversation is handicapped by one of those 4 things, right? Yeah. So figure out that formula. Now you've got a business. Getting customers is easy if you do your homework.
Brilliant. You got it all set up. Just 4 simple steps. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. And from your experience working with the clients all these years, what did you identify as being the major mistakes that these smaller business owners make when approaching online?
One, here's the reality. I think this is the biggest mistake. Most people right now trying to be entrepreneurs are not entrepreneurs. Like entrepreneurialism and being a business owner has been glorified by the internet.
That's true.
Like I have the opportunity to speak to rooms of people and to talk on stage and whatever. And I ask a question, I don't know, 60, 70% of the time. How many of you in the audience consider yourself unemployable? Right? You know what I mean? That sick pride that people have where they're like, I couldn't work for anyone else. I'm unemployable. Therefore, I am an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Which is the biggest load of shit I've ever heard in my life. Okay. And there's two reasons for that. The first reason is the reason they think they're unemployable is because they've worked for one or two or maybe three really bad managers.
Mm-hmm. That's key.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So at best, they can say they're unemployable by shitty managers. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the leap that people make from I've had shitty managers who make me hate my life to therefore I should go start a business is an astronomical error in judgment.
Very true.
Because the reality is they're now creating a business to avoid the pain of poor management. But they have no clue the pain of what it's going to be to try to run a business. And they're not ready for that pain. And they actually don't want it. And they have no reference for it. And the problem is it's going to take them 5 or 10 years of hopeless activity to figure out that pain is worse than the shitty manager.
But it looks cool to put on LinkedIn, founder.
Oh,
CEO.
great. Oh, I feel so cool. But now I'm 50 and I hate my life and I have no money and I'm actually worse. I'm in debt or I've gone bankrupt. My credit is fucked. I have no ability to make money. I could have worked a job for $80,000 or $90,000 or $100,000 a year, whatever your currency is, for the last 20 years. But I burned it on an idealism that I'm unemployable because I didn't make it my mission to find a manager I actually liked working for. Most entrepreneurs or business owners today who have not made more than 6 figures never will. And they should seriously reconsider the idea that they are unemployable by adding the nuance to the conversation that they need to find a manager who knows how to manage them. Mm-hmm. They need to find a leader who knows how to lead them. They need to find a visionary whose vision they believe in, because the fulfillment that they'll experience in the stability of being able to refine in on their specialization and what they love to do the most as a level 2 or a level 3 or a level 4 or a level 5 inside a startup firm or inside a small business, it will be so much more fulfilling than the torture they're going to experience living up to the idealism and the fantasy and the delusion and the riches and the glory of entrepreneurialism that they literally will never achieve because they don't actually have the computational values in their psychology. They don't actually want to be an entrepreneur. They've just totally bought into this bullshit delusion, which is frustrating for me because those people are the ones who are out there not making any money, always on the edge, always desperate, putting on a facade, going out into the world being like, I'm an entrepreneur, but actually they don't deliver a service of any value because they didn't go into the market to create a valuable service that they believe in. They went into the market to avoid the pain of poor management. And now the service is an afterthought. It's not the primary thought, which for someone who's literally, my compulsion is to serve first, charge later. Their compulsion is charge first, serve later. That's aggravating for me. It's like it riles me up because they're literally disintegrating the market. The reason the market right now is hyper specialized, meaning the web designer thinks you need a website, the videographer thinks you need videography, the SEO guy thinks you need SEO, the Facebook guy thinks you need Facebook ads, the Google AdWords guy thinks you need to do AdWords, the group benefits guy thinks you need a group benefits program, your lawyer thinks you need legal services. It's hyper specialized because the only way for so many people to fit inside the market is for everyone to do a very small component. But now we're in a market with no good managers. Nobody's managing these people. These people can't create value. The whole thing is unsustainable. We're in an entrepreneurialism bubble. I swear to God, it's going to collapse. And then everybody's going to have to go get a job, whether they like it or not. I just think they should figure that out sooner than later. So that's problem number 1. Problem number 2 is business owners who think they're a business owner who actually are a business owner can't find good people to work for them because everyone else is out there trying to hustle and be an entrepreneur. And they're all like overvaluing their prices because they need to charge $150 an hour to be sustainable on their own. Yeah. And now I'm like, listen, your role is worth $40,000 a year. Your role is worth $50,000 a year. They're like, no, it's not. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm like, great. You go have fun with that. I'm going to go find employees who want to be part of a team, who hate being alone, who hate doing the bookkeeping, having to do the customer acquisition, have to build a brand, have to build a marketing machine, have to risk all their money, have to go buy equipment and technology, have to invest in all the software. Once you're done believing that you want to go do all that crap and you're ready to stop wasting your time, come and give me a call, because I'm actually a great leader. I have great managers. I actually want to build a team, but you're going to have to work for a salary. I'm not paying you consulting rates because that's ridiculous. Business owners are faced with those two challenges. Those are the two, I think those are primordial challenges. I feel like I'm the only person talking about it. I mean, Gary Vaynerchuk does to a degree, right? He says this all the time, like, level set your expectations, get to know yourself. $200,000 a year as a number two is way better than 70,000, 60,000, or 50,000 hours or dollars working 80, 90, 100 hours a week and never getting to see your kids. Just really check in. But most business owners are too lost in they've got the fantasy going on. They've got their rose-colored glasses on. So this is probably very offensive to many of them. I don't know.
I'm sure many people needed to hear this. Thanks for this. I think you added a lot of value, even if you will upset some people. But out of those, okay, those are one set of business owners that we don't care now. Let's talk about the others that are trying a bit hard and really have the right mindset, but they claim to be in the referral-based business. They think they don't need more digital things. What would you say to them?
I would say that they've been sold a different delusion, which is organic is better.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I mean, I'll be more specific because the term, maybe people know it, maybe they don't know it.
Are you talking about SEO, organic?
Or just what I mean by organic is not paid.
Not paid. Okay. Anything not paid.
Right. So we were given the gift of Facebook 15 years ago. And there was this glory days where a business owner could reach their entire audience by posting a post, everyone would see it.
Yeah.
And then what happens is they got to scale and now they have to produce revenue. And the way Facebook produces revenue is through ads. And so they pull back the organic reach of the business pages. As an example, Google did the exact same thing. This is not rocket science. Every advertising platform on the planet follows this model. And business owners are notoriously headline readers. So they'll see an article or they'll read their friend's Facebook post that says, organic reach on Facebook is dead. All hail LinkedIn. Or it'll be like, Facebook screws over business owners by taking away all of their organic reach. Okay. And then a business owner takes that and they're like, Facebook doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. Reading headlines, right? Headlines.
That's it. Facebook doesn't work anymore. Screw Facebook. Everyone says Facebook is dead. I'm like, okay, but have you thought about giving Facebook money? And they're like, I shouldn't have to give Facebook money. And the reality is that the highest scale businesses on this planet, all of the businesses on this planet that are in the Fortune 500 and the Fortune 5000, the real businesses in the world spend 30 to 50% of their money on marketing. Like, the reality is marketing grows the business. The mandate of a CEO is to be in the market. The question is, what does being in the market look like? Well, you can only spend so much time kissing babies and shaking hands, right? Let's say you got out of every operational responsibility in your business and you could be in the market as the CEO full time, espousing the gospel of your brand. You have 40 hours a week to be in the market, right? Okay, fine. Option 2, let's do social media, which for most people means I have to sit in my basement and manually type, manually Photoshop, or webcam myself on video every single day, 20 or 30 times a day, so that my posts are always showing up in people's Facebook, right? That's option number 2. Or option number 3 is you could get over your bullshit belief systems and you can get over your headline reading, and you could give Facebook some money. Now, give them money to do what? Because this is the same. I'm just using Facebook as an example, but the same goes for Google. The same goes for LinkedIn. The same goes for Bing. The same goes for any advertising platform. You could just give them some money. Now, the question is, what does that money get you exactly? Well, okay, let's jump over to Google for a second. You could spend 20 years optimizing your website for search, whatever that means. Because if you don't have any content on your website, I don't know what it is you're optimizing, right? So if we're optimizing your About Me page, I think we're having the wrong conversation. You're not going to rank on Google because your About Me page has enough keywords on it, right? You'll rank on Google if you've got 300 blog articles that actually create value, that are contextually relevant and include answers to the questions people are asking Google. Okay, exactly. So let's say you do it wrong. You could waste 20 years optimizing your website to try to rank on Google. Or you're going to do it right. You could spend 5 years producing and amassing enough content to rank on Google when you're fighting against, by the way, all of the news and search and content aggregators under the sun for the first page of Google. Like, I don't know how Measurable Genius is going to outrank, let's say, CNET in technology publishing. It's not happening, right? But let's just say 5 years of effort, hundreds of blog articles, tons of video content, and now I'm ranking on the first page. Or I could get over myself and just buy the keywords that place me in the top 3 placements called the promoted section of Facebook or the promoted section of Google, where you search for how to do social media in Calgary. Boom, Measurable Genius. That's not rocket science. That's called being humble enough to buy the position. And the irony is, what exactly is the glory that a business owner gets from not buying the first position? You know what glory they get? Not being found. But for some reason, there's this strange energy that business owners have about it. They're proud. They're like, I'm doing organic because Google's a nasty person. I'm like, well, then why are you working so hard trying to rank on Google? Just give them money. Get over your pride. Just give them the money. And the same thing for Facebook. You can waste your life, or you can hire a full-time employee whose job it is to publish content every day because the newsfeed goes into a black hole. Or you could just give Facebook some money, and every time you open your newsfeed, guess who you're going to see? Alexander.
Yeah.
Like, once you visited my Facebook page, if your audience goes to my Facebook page, the minute you've touched my Facebook page, I am retargeting you with content. You will not get rid of me unless you manage to not touch my content for 60 days, right? If you manage to, at that point, never touch me again, fine. You're not going to get my content anymore. But if you touch my website, if you touch my Facebook page, it's like putting your hand in a pot of glue. Alexander is stuck to you. Like, I'm following you around now. And what am I doing? I'm not making offers. I'm not trying to sell you shit. I'm just putting my content in front of you so you remember who I am, and you're likely to keep thinking of me, because even if you don't need my services, you will meet someone who needs my services. And if all you know is Alexander's always talking about how to do Facebook and social media better, the next time you talk to somebody who needs social media advice, the first person hopefully you're going to think of is me. And that's called mind share. And all of the biggest brands on the planet understand this, which is why they invest such a tremendous chunk of their budget into brand and media marketing. And
sometimes on the wrong mediums, but they do, right? Sure,
right. But at least they're doing the activity. You know what I'm saying? Whereas small business owners, mistake number one is trying to build their business on organic traffic. I did a reply to a post yesterday. Someone said, when is the right time to do Facebook ads? When is the time to start giving people money? And I'm like, now, right now.
I saw that post.
If you're not giving people money, you're going to have a hard time, because I don't know how you're going to grow an audience if no new people ever see you.
Yeah.
When's that going to happen? It doesn't happen.
But it's not a matter of choosing one or the other, right? Going to the organic route or the...
No, you have to do organic. Otherwise, what are you going to market to people? You're just going to make offers to them all the time, and now you're just super selfish.
Exactly.
So there's a perfect balance. I just had this conversation with a client this morning. He's like, how do I build a system where I attract the attention of interior designers and architects to represent my product for me? I'm like, well, first, step one, let's create a mechanism by which you can collect their emails and build an audience. Okay. And now that you've got an audience or an email list, the question is, what am I going to send them? And if you want to send them something that's more than just your selfish offers all the time, then there's a third requirement called, you better produce content of some value, so that you can send them value more frequently than you make offers or you request something from them. So you have to do both, but you shouldn't depend on organic to scale your business. The only way you're going to scale your business is to buy traffic and convert them into customers by making offers.
That's guaranteed you're in the first place.
Yeah,
At the top,
just buy the placement. If you want to be first, just give them money. Let's all save ourselves the trouble.
Yeah.
Just carve off some of your budget, give it to the platform where your customers are most likely to be, and your life a year from now will be dramatically different.
You talked about creating an email list, which I totally agree that should be your main asset that you create. Other than that, what are the top 3 things a business owner should focus on to grow their business through their digital medium?
They should probably build a Facebook group of some kind.
Mm-hmm. That's my next question.
Yeah. And I mean, we focus a lot on retargeting and re-engagement. So like I focus a lot of effort on page engagement on my page, like my Facebook page, and website visits, because I'm one of the only people I know who retarget people with content. So like traditional content marketing would say publish content organically. The next level of sophistication would be publish content organic and then use platforms to distribute that content without making offers, just to serve people.
Yeah.
So for example, I run a 22-minute piece of content to cold traffic, and I regularly have people stop in the middle of their day and watch the entire thing, right? So I'm proving the whole people don't have attention spans belief bullshit. It's not true. I have people stopping in their day to watch 22 minutes of content from a person they've never heard of before through a Facebook ad that has no call to action, right? But then that's where most people stop. The next level of complexity would be, why would we not be serving content to people who've been to my page or been to my website too?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then after that, then it's like, okay, let's start to make some offers to those people. But to me, offers are like step 4 or step 5. I retarget people with content. So I know if, for example, I publish a piece of content, at the end of all of my content, I either drive traffic to my website, which is measurablegenius.com, or to another property that I've built called measurablegenius.tv, which houses all of my video content that we've ever produced. And if you visit either of those properties, you're going to get pixeled because I've got my Facebook pixel installed. And then I've got retargeting ads that basically run content to anyone who's been to those sites. So in my world, I don't really care about pushing to the hard sale. A lot of people are like, oh, I met a person. How do I get him on a call? I don't.
How do I take from him? Yeah.
Right. I don't give a shit. I'm like, listen, if you think I can help you and I don't know if I can, like, let's figure this out and let's not rush it. You can head on over to my website, or you can head on over to measurablegenius.tv. Or if I meet a person in public and they're like, man, I've really got this problem, what I might do is I might go pick a video on measurablegenius.tv that I know will help them. I email them that video because I know if they visit that page and they watch it, now they're in my retargeting. So they're inevitably going to get offers from me, which include, by the way, opt-ins into my email list. So there's a journey that that person can follow to end up in front of my offers at some point in the future. And I think that that longer term approach, which by the way, isn't long term, it's probably more like mid-term, right? The short term would be, great, I'm glad to meet you. Want to book a call and buy my shit? Everyone's like, whoa, can we romance this a little bit first? In my world, it's like, I don't know if I can help you. Maybe I can help you. I'm pretty busy anyway. If you want to book a call, that's fine. I just suggest that maybe you qualify me because I swear a lot. So if you're someone who doesn't like swearing, you should know that before we work together. So go watch some of my videos. You'll figure that out pretty quick, right? If you think that the content in my videos is great, if you think I can help you, then, you know, book a call with me. Otherwise, you'll be in my list, you'll be in my retargeting, you'll get my ads. At some point in the future, there will be an opportunity for us to work together. I don't need to turn this process into a machine. I don't need to like fucking hammer down a very linear track. I'm comfortable just letting people figure out their own path, but I've got the infrastructure to support it. Which, by the way, sounds complicated. It's really not that complicated. It's like 5 or 6 different systems that all kind of overlap. But in reality, it depends on the following 3 things. Retargeting based on pixel traffic to your websites, a Facebook group, or at the very least, content on your Facebook page to get page engagement, and a list that you're growing. You got to be growing your email list. You should never not be running some kind of campaign that converts people into your email list. Because
it's your asset forever. It's not Facebook's or whatever, right?
100%.
So you mentioned Facebook groups, and you're talking a lot about that recently. I've seen in your videos. Can you talk a bit more about that, and how, for example, how like a real estate broker could implement that strategy? I don't know. For a small business owner, that has a mom and pop business, what would you say?
Ask me that just one more time.
So you talk about a lot about Facebook groups. How can
Yes.
a small business leverage a Facebook group to run their own business? You know, why would they create a group?
I don't know that they should. It's just something they could do.
They could.
Yeah. If you have a reason to, it's great. Like here, like right now, I'm growing a Facebook group, but there's like I have no legitimate reason to tell you to join it.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to get by being in my group? The answer is nothing. Mm-hmm. You're going to get notified sometimes if I go live in there. Mm-hmm. And really, it serves the function of supporting us during certain campaigns. So like last quarter, we ran a challenge to help business owners start and launch their weekly Facebook shows. And portions of that challenge depended on business owners sharing their progress and getting feedback in the Facebook group. So it had a functional reason for existing there. Mm-hmm. Really, it's no different than an email list. Once you've got this domain called a Facebook group or an email list, the next step is, what are you going to do to produce value within that domain? And so I am not an advocate for arbitrarily creating groups, because it's just going to create like this outside authority that demands that you now do something. And what I've observed about visionaries is when they have to do stuff, that's the thing they most often don't do. Right? So I most certainly would not create a Facebook group as a form of accountability. Right? Yeah. But if you have a genuine calling, for example, to do a weekly Q&A Facebook Live, or to create or to curate content for a community, or if you happen to be a person who loves community, like I am not really all that community driven. My values are not necessarily to bring community together. It's not been what my behavior demonstrates. I don't have a community of people that I can sort of corral into a Facebook group. Other people seem to naturally create community. Their behaviors are community engendering. They're able to stimulate community. They do it automatically. So if you're that type of person, a Facebook group will help, because your automatic behaviors will nurture a community into existence there, and the community will be its own value. Mm-hmm. In Alexander's world, I'm more of a broadcaster. Yeah. So a group does not really directly support my natural functioning. I'm just
doing. I think it'll be more for coaches, right? For those that use accountability within their members to kind of go together to the same objective. Yeah.
And I have a Facebook group for my clients, right? Like when my clients onboard, we add them to a Facebook group. But again, I use that as a system for notification and for closed communication. I'm not using it to engender community.
And you can create a lookalike audience, like you said, right?
Yeah. I mean, some people can. They haven't rolled the feature out to everybody yet.
They haven't rolled. Okay.
No, actually, I was a little early on that recommendation. Like it rolled out to certain ad accounts, but it hasn't rolled out to everybody. I don't get to know when that happens.
Well, I'm sure it's coming eventually. So at least we know about that.
Yeah.
Okay, we're almost reaching the end, but now I have an interesting question that I would love to ask you.
Sure.
If you have to choose between being a remarkable copywriter that turns visitors into customers quickly, or a remarkable content creator that attracts thousands of potential customers and creates trust in your brand, which would you choose?
I would choose the latter. I mean, I have chosen. I'm a content creator.
There you go.
I prefer to produce video content. Video content can be turned into anything else into the future. My video content could be turned into copy that does the former. Mm-hmm. Right? I believe that video is the most valuable asset that you can collect over time. It's the most widely distributed. It's the most widely consumed. It's the most naturally engaging subject matter. Now, that being said, there are people who don't watch video. And so I'm, it's everything has benefits and drawbacks. So there's people on the left who will only read copy that I'm missing out on. And there's people on the right who watch tons of video, but, and the people who only read copy don't watch it. So, it's a back and forth, but because I produce video content at scale, I'm able to, in the future, solve the first problem later. It's a lot harder to turn copy into video. It's a lot easier to turn video into copy. Yeah.
So you're not yet repurposing your video to audio and text? Not yet?
No,
okay.
The amount of labor that goes into the video content that we produce today is astronomical. I mean, and here's the thing, I want to just hedge this. Like, I don't know that I would encourage any business owner at my scale, even, or smaller. So if you're 7 figures or less, to produce the quantity of video that I produce is like 1.5 full-time team members worth of salary, plus my own time. It's an astronomical amount of work.
It is crazy.
It pays off for me. Right? So I'm choosing to take that risk and make that investment, but I think few people will do it, but you need to do some. You need to find the level of content production that works for you. And the content production needs to be focused on creating value for the audience. And if you can do those two things, then inevitably you'll accumulate value over time and it'll snowball into great results. I know that to be true for sure. But again, video on its own is not the solution. You need to be producing content, and you also need to be producing offers, and you also need to have funnels converting people into your list. And you also need to be like there's a lot of things that need to be in place for a machine to truly be a machine. Otherwise, it's just a tactic. Otherwise, you're just a YouTuber, and you might end up like Joe Rogan and be able to pay for your mortgage on, one of your vlogs per month, but it took Joe Rogan 7 years to get to where he's at today of producing, 1,300 episodes of his podcast. So like, for most people who are in very short-term thinking with very short-term needs, I don't know that I would recommend content marketing. What I would recommend for someone who has short-term needs is to get a discovery call system up as quickly as possible and to start making offers and growing a list, right? Once you've got a list, then I'd produce some content so you can send the content to the list. But I would have produced content first. So it's sequencing is often the most challenging part of growing a business that every business owner sort of has to solve for themselves or hire a coach like me to help them figure out. And so we can talk about these things as different pieces, but it's important to remember that they're all in context with one another. There's a machine at play here, and content marketing is just one part of that.
It's just a part of it. Brilliant. Great advice. So we're running out of time, but I would love to know if you created a new habit in the last 5 years that kind of dramatically improved your life.
Doing a weekly Facebook show.
There you go.
It's a huge game changer. I mean, we're just coming off the back
Facebook,
of
not YouTube, exactly on Facebook.
Well, I mean, it could be YouTube. It's again, it's just bandwidth. I'm just doing Facebook for now, but let's just call it a weekly show. Okay, like a weekly recurring scheduled at a time. It's a show. It always happens. It never doesn't happen. It's a thing. It's a ritual. It's going to keep going. And therefore I will always have content. Like, it's a fucking train and it's just going, and I don't need to think about it. And my team and I execute it, and it just happens.
How do you come up with the content ideas every week?
I sit down with Warren and we spend 15 minutes and we ask, what content would we love to share this week? What problems have people had this week? Like, we just ask a question. Either it comes from my client strategy sessions, or it comes from my coaching sessions, or it comes from a problem we're having in our business, or the topic has come up multiple times, or something just happens. There's always something for us to talk about.
Again, by talking to people, the secret to business success.
100%.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay. So you mentioned Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm sure you follow some of his content. I'm not sure if you have time to consume, if you're such a producer. Who do you follow online for inspiration on marketing, business strategy, etc.?
I follow Gary Vaynerchuk, John DeMartini. Yeah. We talk marketing or just in general?
It can be anything about business related.
Business related. So a book that I refer to all the time is a book called The Time Trap by Alec McKinsey.
Okay.
Huge value. That book will change an entrepreneur's life, because at the end of the day, managing your life depends on how you manage your time. And then we refer to a framework regularly. It's a book called Scaling Up, Mastering the Rockefeller Habits, which is the business planning framework and the meeting rhythms and disciplines that we apply at Measurable Genius to become scaling growth firms in our industry. It's like an operating system for businesses who actually want to be solid quarterly business planners and run their business on a series of rhythms that bake in culture. It's a huge piece of value there too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Alexander, how can people know more about you?
Well, they can visit my website, measurablegenius.com. They can watch my content on measurablegenius.tv, or they can look me up on Facebook under Alexander Ford.
Awesome. I really love that name, Alexander Ford. It really is a cool brand.
Thank you.
Alex, thank you so much for being on the show. It was a pleasure talking to you. You added a lot of value.
Thanks for having me.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you. Bom, este foi o final então do 13º episódio. Espero que tenha gostado. Se gostou do vídeo, por favor, deixe o seu gosto, subscreva o canal e faça todos os sociais. Até ao próximo vídeo.